In this module, we are going to use APIs, or Application Program Interfaces. What APIs are ways for people who design web applications to be able to tap into services and information that are provided by the big web applications like Google, Facebook, Twitter, Dropbox. All those different places have, not all of them, but a lot of them have APIs that you can tap into so you can use some of what they do in your web applications. Obviously, this is what's going to be beyond what's stored in your little web folder and in your little personal web database. In this particular page that you're looking at here, I have things being pulled up from my Google Calendar, and I have a Google map that you can see here. The other important thing to notice from this particular page is it's running off of my server. It's not just a regular HTML page. Well, it is a regular HTML page, but it is running inside of a server. Google Maps did not require that I used a server, but the calendar did. So I'm going to take a look at how I did both of these and how to set up your own server on this. I'm using a MAMP server. I'm using that at home. I'll put links to MAMP and WAMP and videos on how to get those set up and use them, because really that would help a lot in that JSON assignment that we tried to do. That opens up a lot of doors to actually be able to run things off of a server rather than just running them flat in a web page in any old place on your machine. So anyway, let's take a look. Since I was using Google here, I was using Google credentials. So you're going to go into, you're going to need to have a Gmail account for this. So you're going to go to console.developers.google.com. And once you're in here, you can go ahead, go to your dash. I'm going to shut off, by the way, the particular projects. So if you see that I have some authorization codes or something, they will be shut down here shortly. But so I'm here. Let's go ahead and create a new project. So you can say, I don't know. And now once I'm in here, I can actually flip around with all of these things in there. But now I can select which APIs I would like to use. So for what I used here, and for the demo that I'm going to put a link to the W3 Schools map demonstration. So for the map demonstration, the API that you want to connect is this Google Maps for JavaScript API. And then once you select it, you're going to enable. Once that is enabled, you can go ahead and create your credentials. And for this, what you're going to need is an API key for the Google Maps. And that key is what lets you kind of connect into your into these applications, into the Google Maps for later. So I would go ahead and I'm going to copy this. Now, the reason why your W3 Schools API key does not work is because they do have it restricted to prevent unauthorized use in production. So if you were going to do that, you would go in here. So they're probably the HTTP or IP addresses or something restricted so that it can only run on their particular servers. We're not going to worry about that for right now because I am going to just delete this here momentarily, so I don't really have to worry about it. And for your particular projects, you don't have to worry about it either. So I have this authorization key. When you go into the W3 Schools tutorial for the maps, it gives you basically all the code that you can just copy and paste onto your page. Just when you get down to this one little section in the page where it says the key, you have to delete this section, just your key, which in their code, when you copy it and paste it, they're going to have a whole bunch of, they put their key in there. So you'll just take this out where it says your key, and you will paste your key into that once you create a page. So if you can see here, I had this running in a couple different places. Let's get rid of these old things. Okay, so here with the Google map, I was looking for client. Let's get rid of that. That's Google Calendar. Da, 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 da. Yeah. So down here, I just pasted my key. So you can see it's after this question mark. It says key equal. I pasted my key in there. And then this and callback, that was part of what they put in there. That's part of the command. So I just pasted in my key. So now let's go back to this Google stuff. And then I didn't want you to feel limited, because if you just do Google Map, you kind of feel limited. You don't really know how to use everything else. So I'd like you to try to use one more. And what I did here was I did the Google Calendar, which you saw, which I was pulling things up from the calendar. So in here, you can see that if you go to Google Developer, or actually if you go in here, go to the library. This is, I'm in my console. You can see all the different kinds of Google APIs that are out here that you could use. So I thought I would just try the calendar, random one. And then I went into the documentation. Samples. Now in these quick starts here, I wanted to just use a JavaScript, because obviously I'm not running on I'm not running Node.js. I could do PHP because my server has PHP running in it, but since this is a JavaScript class, I just did the JavaScript quick start. So down here, I just followed the instructions. Now the one tricky thing here is that here it says in the authorized JavaScript, put in localhost 8000. Well, if you look at my pages, you'll see that my localhost runs on, and I didn't do this specially. This is just MAMP on a Mac. It runs at port 88888888. So I actually added that in when I just copied and pasted their sample, and for a second I had to think about why it wasn't working, and it's because I had the wrong port in there. So just by following their solution, their samples, I went ahead and did that. So let's go in here. Okay, so following the instructions that were on the page, it said go ahead, and I enabled my calendars. I'm going to go ahead and go to the credentials. Don't do this one because it doesn't go to the exact same place that they do. It said create your credentials, and I want to authorize my client ID. So that gives me that authorize button that we saw. And I'm going to have to do this because it says I want to do web application, but it won't give me that until I authorize this. So I'm just going to say demo 2351. My home page is going to be that local host, and it gives me in here well, I guess I don't have to worry about my home page, but it gives me this, and this is where I'm going to have to do whatever my actual origins are. I can hit that one, but I can also hit, wait, excuse me, that's not what I want. That's optional. I want to go down here and, okay, these are optional. Privacy, terms of service. I'm going to go ahead and hit that. Now I'm hitting a web application. And this is where I want the authorized JavaScript origins. This is my local host right here. I can have more than one, so I put the one that they have, but I also want to have my local host actually, which is where the origins are going to come from, where my JavaScript is going to be running. I don't need to have this redirects filled out according to the instructions, so I'm going to go ahead and create this. Okay, here's my client ID. So now when I go in and I just copied and pasted all of the code that they gave me in here. Now in real life I would go in and clean up this code quite a bit. But there was a place in their code that said your client ID, and I replaced it with my client ID, and that was it. It was a copy and paste job the whole way. So here's the code that I just copied and pasted, obviously not the heading and stuff, but everything else. And right here where it says client ID equals your client ID, all I did was delete this stuff and paste in my client ID. And that's how I got that API working. So I'd like you to go and try to get a couple of these running. Have fun with it. Start thinking about kinds of possibilities you could use it, later on. If you want to get adventurous, you can try an API from a different location. But just go and have fun.